All right, so we just replaced the window that was here with this giant door. Hi guys. And now we want to do some work with the wall, because we come to find when we're doing this that the wall here, as you can see, the wood is all rotted out. And we didn't know this until we took off all the siding, and you can see how bad this is. Look at this. I mean, and this is causing us to get insects in the house, and it's causing us to get draft. So we're going to replace some of this chipboard with exterior grade plywood, and then we're going to seal this, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So first things first here, just to get started, I'm going to remove some of this felt paper, just to see what we're working with and get an idea of the extent of damage and how far up on the wall the water damage is. So basically I determined that I have to get to this here. This is my side of the fence line. It's the neighbor's side. I got this piece here, it's in the way. So I need to remove it, but it's hard because it's all tied in with conduit that went through it here to the other side. So instead of trying to pull all this electric out, which would be a nightmare, I'm just going to cut this here and pull this out, and then I'm going to just put a little piece on here and just put it back together. Now I'm essentially just taking my Sawzall, cutting the wood and cutting any nails that I really couldn't get to remove this board and make everything a little more accessible. So now I got that piece of wood out of the way, I'm able to get to this corner siding piece here and pry it off, hopefully.
Daddy.
What's up, Sophia?
What are you doing?
Placing this. So I determined that around this high where I cut should be pretty much good all the way to the end there. And you can see there's some water damage up here, but I don't think it's too bad. This here is really where all the real rot is at, as you can see. This is all the rot here. See how you can tell. Look at that. I mean, it's just falling apart. So as long as I go well above that here, we should be good. So I'm going to mark off about 16 inches, which seems about what I need to do here. Mark it off with this pencil here, right? So I got a 16-inch mark. Another one from the end here, as close as I can get here. This spot's good. All right, I'm going to take my chalk line, draw a line across, so when I cut this, because I'm going to cut it in place, I have a line to follow, which makes things easier. All right, so let's see if we can do that. So I have to peel this back, or let's see. Maybe I have to go from this side here. Just kind of. Okay, let's see. So match this up to the 1/16 and to the other 16. It's not perfect actually, but it'll give me a straight line. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's an orange line on the wall now. So now if I got to cut this, I might have to use a circular saw to get as much as I can. For the edges, I might have to use the reciprocating saw, so it's not as smooth and not as controlled, so I'll have something to follow. So I'm only working one battery right now, as I got some other ones charging. So we're gonna use our circular saw, right? And you can set your depth like this. You can control your depth, so you don't want to go too far and cut them 2x4s behind it. So I'm just gonna set the depth to a really shallow depth. So you can see here, only this much will be being cut into, as much as the blade is sticking out off the table there. So we're gonna cut as far as we can get with this. On the ends, we're gonna use this guy here for the ends because it's more appropriate. Just gonna play this back in a little fast motion. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just taking my circular saw, running across as far as I can. I don't wanna cut my vinyl door with the circular saw. So for the edges, I'm gonna use my Sawzall or reciprocating saw, whatever you wanna call it. And then once I got that line cut at the top, I basically just went from top to bottom, or bottom to top I should say, and cut a line too, just to further weaken the board and make it easy to remove. This now is like rotted to where there's hardly anything left of it. So you know it's been water penetration going on for a long time. I only recently discovered it because I was adding this door and I got rid of the window. So now I got to deal with it, and I'm glad I did discover it. You can see even bugs have gotten in here and nested in there, which is definitely not a good thing. So now that you got your area cleaned, you got your ground, I got the ground cleaned off here, as you can see. You need a clean workspace. What you want to do is mark all your points where you can screw or nail your replacement wood into. So what you do is you just follow these here, these 2x4s, and mark the center right above them. I mean, they should be 16 inches on center, but you always want to mark them just in case they're not 16 inches on center. So I mark everything, even the obvious ones. I just mark them all, like this end one. So we measured the piece we needed over there. It's 57.5 by 16. Since plywood comes in 48 inch wide pieces, we're gonna have to go long ways for 57.5. 57.5 right here. I always make 2 measurements. So I got 2 measurements here. That way I can line them up. 57.5 this way. And we're gonna go 16 tall. So that's right here. 16. 16. 16. Now we can connect all these. One there, one here. And we're ready to cut. So it's important to remember when you're cutting your plywood and you got your horses underneath, that you're not cutting into your horses up here. You can see because the line's further back. So you can do a couple things. You can put a piece of 2x4 and prop them up, or you can drag them off to the side. I'm gonna put some 2x4 under there because I'm by myself and I don't want to drag them to the side too much and have the plywood be unstable. So this is pretty simple. Basically what I'm doing, like I said, is I'm just putting a 2x4 under there, and it's going to give a little gap between the top of the horses and the plywood. So when I'm cutting with my circular saw, I'm not cutting into my horses and damaging my horses or damaging my saw blade. So we're going to test fit this. And this looks good. Looks like we're right where we need to be, guys. We got our marks here for where we need to screw it in. We're going to have some gaps here. We're going to fill them in. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Had to get some slightly longer screws. They weren't quite cutting it there. At this point in the video, you may have noticed that I went with a slightly different type of plywood. It's roughly the same thickness, 15-30 seconds. Everything's really close to half an inch, really. And this is an exterior grade plywood versus that kind of chipboard, particle board stuff on top. I went with this because it's a little more durable and resistant, and I realized that moisture can potentially get under here again, and I want something that'll just be a little more durable. So now we're nice and snug here. So to seal this seam here that we have still, because it's not perfect, I'm just going to use some siliconized caulk here. Nothing special, really. We're just going to apply it liberally to this whole entire seam. Make sure we fill everything in. This is 100% waterproof because of the silicone in it. And then we'll be able to go to the next step. No real tricks here, guys. I mean, if you've never used caulk before, make sure you cut the hole wide enough if you have a relatively big gap like I have here, just to make things easier in application. Just make sure you cover everything thoroughly. You almost want to make it like you're trying to airtight this seal, which is not really possible, but that's kind of what you're going for. As in life, invariably, what happens to one side happens to the other side. So I just want to show you once again what I did, and I'm going to play this back in high speed, but you can get an idea of the whole process once again fluidly. And it's just really more of me marking, cutting, and replacing with a higher grade of exterior plywood. Wow, that was a lot easier than the other one. Be very careful to pick all these up, especially when you got little ones and animals running around the house. So at this point, if you're still watching, I want to make sure that you stay tuned till the end, because I kind of have I want to say a secret weapon as to how I waterproof this wall and kind of ensure that the damage doesn't happen again. And it's pretty vital, in my opinion, because if you don't do something different, the same results are going to keep happening, right? So guys, we got everything fixed all along, right? All the way across, both pieces replaced at the bottom. And we've got all the seams sealed up on both sides there. Now what I got is what I hope will be my secret weapon. I got this can of Flex Seal. It's 1 gallon. It's actually $110 at Lowe's. Super expensive. Didn't even have a handle on it, which is kind of annoying to hold it. But we're gonna apply it here to prevent rot, and under here, guys, you can see right here, to stop anything from getting in the future, moisture, insects, anything. Hopefully this will act as some kind of barrier and prevent all this stuff that's happened in the past in the future. There are special coatings designed just for this, but none of them were available in the store today, and I wanted to get this done today. So I read online that Flex Seal worked pretty good too for this, so I'm gonna try this. What I did was I got a cheapo brush so I can just dispose of it when I'm done. Flex Seal instructions say to stir the can and not shake it. So we're gonna open this up. And it's important to note that it came in clear, which I really like. So it won't leave any unsightly marks anywhere if it dries and I can't get all of it removed from where I'm working. So hopefully that'll make things a little easier. So I got a piece of wood here. I'm just gonna stir this well. And I picked up this cover for the can, so that this, when I'm working out of the can, the Flex Seal doesn't get all in the rim and just really mess everything up. If anything else, when I'm done, at least I'll have this cool waterproof stick. I want to paint this stuff on, not only on the edge of the wood here, but on the seam on the bottom. So I kind of want to get under here to prevent any moisture or anything getting up in this seam. And also to prevent any water damage from getting on the wood here. Hopefully the wood, if any water and moisture gets back down here, will trickle over top of the Flex Seal. Let's begin this process now. So I'm going to show you guys how I did this part of the job, but after this I'm going to show you how I also have rewrapped the house to kind of give it more weather resistance. Then I'm going to put the siding back on and get this job completed. So it's probably pretty vital to point out that I did buy the clear Flex Seal. The reason I did that is obviously because if it gets on anything that I don't want it to get on, it won't be as noticeable. So when you're picking this stuff up, I would pay attention to the color you're getting and what you want, because there's clear, there's white, and there's also black. So now I'm going to start wrapping the house with some plastic house wrap. It comes in a roll here, as you can see. It's just really a sheet of plastic. Using some aluminum siding nails to nail it in, and just some regular scissors to cut this stuff so that I can apply it. You can watch me do that. It's a pretty basic process. So when wrapping the house, it's important to note that you want to start at the bottom and work your way up so that your overlap, because you're going to overlap at about 3 or 4 inches at least, isn't letting any water get into it. So I don't have every second of me nailing this siding in, and it would get a little tedious to watch because it's a really repetitive process. Obviously, what you do with one piece, you basically do with all the others. One important thing to note is that when you do nail the siding in, you want to not nail it in super tight. You want to give it a little bit of like breathing space so that the siding can kind of move and shift with the winds and the temperature changes and things like that, so that you don't get any bowing or bubbling or any weird contortions of your siding. For this last piece up top here, it's not going to be a full piece, so I got to cut the top off. This is a little piece I'm just using to estimate what I'll need exactly. So I'm going to cut this off, put that up there. We already did cut it off, and we're going to see if it fits, and then I'll know what to do for that last full piece. And I cut it a little too short. I really didn't. I just kind of estimated about a ½ inch more. Siding's not a perfect precision kind of job because you do have a lot of give on the sides and up top. So if I give this about a ½ inch more on the full piece, I should be totally fine. This is very close. I like it a little more snug. So this is a one and done. Hopefully got it cut, and if this don't fit, this is pretty much my last piece. So it's gonna be a pain. I'm super hungry, but it's all done. Phase one's done. Basically, I want to call phase one. Whole back wall's done. It's got to be painted and things like that, but we're pretty good. And we're going to start the next part. That's going to be another video. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something. If you didn't, maybe you could teach me something in comments.